So this is the position that we're in. First of all, we're not in ideal conditions for the PSG comp because they're looking to secure the objective here, which means they're not unified on a desire to fight, which means that their engage on target is not all together. So that is the context for this scenario, and it does lead to some discord in the fight. Second of all, right, we have Renata Ultimate is not a real worry here. Let's explain why. Azir can always position. Renata Ultimate will do like this, right? Azir always can position into the pit and then free fire from here. So Azir is not concerned with it. Senna, cleanse. Senna should never be concerned with it. Rumble, the Q damage does not turn to your teammates. He has the option to, whenever he thinks it's the right time, to blast cone over and get in here. That could be after the Renata ultimate and then DPS down like this. That could be during the Renata ultimate if someone is low enough and you just want to get those couple seconds of Q, and then you take the 1.25 second Renata ultimate and then you're back to DPSing that way. Those are fine options. But he's not really worried about it. Junjia only is needed to ult at the end of a kill confirm. So he should just be avoiding the ultimate at all costs. His DPS is not needed. So, and obviously Nautilus doesn't care. Nautilus will be so far forward, and his job is to eat the CC and survive. This, by the way, is Nautilus and fasting Senna, so this is a real fucking take. This Nautilus has more HP and more defenses than the Maokai. And less HP but more defenses than Urgot. So that's a real fucking take. So the Renata ultimate is not actually a real worry. You fight through that shit. As long as Azir makes sure to avoid it and Betty just instant cleanses it, which is not what happens here. Azir does avoid it, Betty does not instant cleanse, but Azir also does not avoid the Maokai ultimate. Okay, so now we move forward. Right, so we confirm the kill on the Drake. I wish it went back in smaller intervals. Confirm the kill on the Drake. That's secured. Right fucking now, before the root comes in, this Q should be taking place. I think we can all agree. If this Q takes place in this position, or fuck it, if this Q takes place in this position, fight's over. Fight is done. There's nothing that FlyQuest can do. But instead of doing that, go rooted, queued in. Okay, now he gets his ultimate off onto the Varus. So Varus isn't DPSing, but guess what? Varus has already used his abilities. And then boom. It doesn't, like, not a DPS threat. A momentary CC on someone that's not collapsible is nothing. So really, because Nautilus does not queue in before he gets rooted, he becomes useless. When it is very, very, very clear that he can. Very easy for him to do that. And then he gets to use all of his abilities in the fight. But that's not what happens. He gets 1 Q right before he dies on Bwipo, right before the ultimate goes off. And he gets the R onto Masu, who is not interactable by anyone. Mostly because, and now let's talk about this, Maple's being a fucking pussy. So he's stepping back, pussyfooting around, step back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and gets rooted. Right? Has no business being rooted with a front line here. Nautilus is... I should have deleted all that. Sorry. My pointer back to here. Back to here. Right? We can all agree. There's no business for him to get rooted here, right? He just needs to be in this alleyway. which he can easily do. He has, if he needs to use his soldiers to get over, he can do that. And then he's right over here and he's DPSing over here. But he doesn't do that. That's entirely a misplay. It's entirely a misplay. And so all of FlyQuest is DPSing here. None of PSG is DPSing here, even though very easily they could have been. Very easily. If he uses his soldiers to get here, guess what? He's in interaction range here. Guess what? He can probably literally just kill him on his own, because we see when the play actually comes out and then Bwipo walks forward, it's literally Bwipo is hit by 3 ticks of Rumba ultimate, 2 Senna auto attacks, and Senna R. And the rest of the damage is Azir turret attacks, soldier attacks, and half health hit. If we get Viego R ultimate on him, if we have Rumble Q on him, this guy is dead. He's dead. So like the damage is for sure there. Now what they do instead, let's look up what actually happens instead of what they do instead is they look for Inspired, because they get a root on him and he's already half HP, and so they think like, okay, there's an angle here. They're unsuccessful getting that by 100 HP. I'm not going to call that a bad play. I think it was a fine call. But what you have to understand is that Azir will never... I mean, there's an angle where if he Q's forward here and gets rooted here, he can literally just walk up, because there's no hard engage and hard CC that he actually has to be concerned about. So he can walk up here, auto attack, and then when the Renata R comes, he just walks here, Q's his soldiers here, and then starts doing this. So he does get a little DPS over here. So that's a possible reality, but that's not what happens. But by most, like if we're being for real, let's just count Azir can never make it to DPS over here. Let's just say like sometimes mistakes happen. He just always, let's just pretend like he's guaranteed to be rooted here. Fine. He can never help DPS Maokai. But Betty sure can just walk up. Right? Once the root is avoided, Betty can just walk here. Betty already has eyes on Inspired because the W came through, so he is looking that way. We know this. So just walk up. What does Betty do? Betty walks sideways. Betty ults there. Even though in ultimate from here in this direction still covers the Nautilus, but DPS's the Maokai, we're ulting here. That's just, oh, it's the it's the Varus. We'll get the DPS. ADCs of no brain. Because also, right, just off of that, if the ult goes here, that's a kill, that's a reset, the team fight is over. Plus Drake. But that's not what happens. So let's continue. What can Betty do? Betty, instead of, because what does Betty do here now? He walks up and to the right. He walks up and to the right, uses ultimate, and then walks. So you see, he's kiting over here to the wall. Why are we kiting to the wall? You have plans. Why are we kiting? And why are we not cleansing? He's in the CC. It's a 1.25 second duration on the Renata ultimate. He's in the CC for 1 second with cleanse. And then he cleanses at the end of the second. He's not cleansing shit. When very easily, you've played the game. You know it gets tense. It's hard to fire on all cylinders, whatever. But let's just talk about what can happen. He can just walk. This is, yes, right? He can just walk forward, instant cleanse, auto attack Inspired. He should never not be walking forward in this clip. He should never not be walking forward in this clip. But he does. He hesitates. He walks to the side. He steps back. And Inspired loses 100 HP. Never should happen. But that's what happens. Inspired dies. Team fight wipe. Because from that position, if your team is set up like this, and then your Maokai, you gain a Maokai here, you become Maokai here, and they're all over here, game is done. Game is over. Game is over. So, I believe in this video I already talked about how Rumble doesn't really care about Renata Ultimate. But yeah, those are their two options. They can either commit to this and really play forward and know that they're doing that and use the cleanse appropriately, or they can ignore the Maokai, just accept the fact that he can't fight. Blast Cone over, kill Bwipo, avoid this garbage ass route, and just DPS everyone the whole time. And it's a one fight. This is what I'm talking about when they have like the compositionally. And it's not that FlyQuest is playing perfect, and FlyQuest is not in an ideal position either. They are compelled, and honestly, they shouldn't do this because they just accept the L. But North American teams, most teams in the world, honestly, but especially North American teams, just refuse to accept the loss. Actually, especially Chinese teams. North Americans are second. Most teams refuse to accept the loss, so they're coming into a losing situation. Looking to get whatever they can off the back end. And then fortunately, thanks to PSG misplay, they do get shit on the back end. But this should never happen. Right? I think I've explained myself clearly enough. This should never happen. There are multiple angles in which this fight should be maybe not a clean sweep. Maybe Nautilus still dies. But DPS is just not occurring. And this is still how the fight goes. Full HP bars on PSG, except for Nautilus. Half health Bwipo, 0 health Inspired, which, like, we're calling him half HP, but a lot of that, he was like 75% HP before the approach, and Rumble did a shit ton to him on his approach. It's a Knight's Vow Maokai. He's not a tank. He's not a tank. He's a glorified engage. Yeah. No, there's no world whatsoever that this is a lost fight with one or two things done differently. This is what I'm talking about. Azir is not gimping his DPS for 4 fucking seconds. One team fight. Senna is using her fucking summoner spells and auto-attacking Maokai. One team fight. They scrap all of that and they just decide to play on the front line. One team fight. Woody Nautilus Qs before he gets rooted onto the Renata and they all focus her. One team fight. We're only seeing an example of all the factors that need to go wrong for them to still get Dragon and only lose one person. That's what happened. They got Dragon, Woody died, and then everyone left. That's what happened. That's the risk that they're working with misplaying. And the option, the benefit, this is a numbers advantage, I don't care. The upside is they literally wipe them. Comps are not even close. Comps are not even close.